Hello guys, today we learn about sockets in Java. The main purpose of socket is to establish a connection or to communicate between two particular servers or two particular destinations, okay, from either end. So we call that client server architecture or server server or active passive master slave. We can call it in any format which we want. Basically, I've created two classes or one referring to a client and the other one referring I referred it as a server. Okay, right now what I'm trying to do is to establish a connection between a client and a server. Basically, to establish a connection we need to we are using socket here. Socket is an utility given by Java. We can use this utility or library or package where not to make a connection. As soon as we make a connection like this, okay, socket, we generally initialize it like this. Socket as is equals to a new socket with the arguments, the constructor, the default constructor. It has got it has got quite a few default constructors. We can use many of we can use any of these things according to our requirement. Right now, since we know the the host and the port of a particular destination, we are initializing a connection. As soon as we this stuff is done, this client will try to make a connection to the server. So before we make this step, before we initialize or before we make a socket connection here, we need to make sure that we are listening, or the server which our application is running is listening to that particular port. So in order to listen to a particular port, we use server socket utility. Okay, this is how we initialize a server socket utility. And since we make sure, and we also should make sure that the port which we are using here, a client should be aware of that particular port, and obviously the client should be sending up data or yeah, communicating to this server using this port. So right now I have created a new server socket using 232, to this particular port, and I have established I'm just listening it. So I'm listening to this port, whatever the data which come to this port, which comes to this port, and I'm simply reading it and I'm printing it here using a stream buffer. Obviously it's a stream of data which is coming in, and I'm expecting a stream of data as I'm sending it here. Since I've written this, and I know that what data it is coming in. So this is a normal stream reader and a normal buffer reader. Stream reader will not give any stream reader will not have anything like a read line and all. If you try to print anything like in a stream reader, it will simply return the list of or the count of chars inside it. So we are using a buffer reader instead to read a line, each line there, and we are converting it. Okay, this is how we print it simply. So yeah, once we have done a server side program here, and we also have tried to create a connection, and then we are flushing some data using print writer. Once we print write it, this is how you initialize a print writer. Once you in the print writer, you are trying to bind this print writer to the socket outstream, so that this print writer, whatever we are writing into this object, and once we are flushing it, it will go through this outstream, and then the server side will capture the input stream. For the other client side, once it sends an output stream, the for the server it becomes an input stream. That's how it will read it. And the chronology of this program is to make sure that a server should be running always, and the client is a asynchronous call. Server is a synchronous or continuous form where it should be running in the first place. Server should be connecting, or server should be running like this. You know that server is client is trying to reach the server. Yeah, server is listening to the client, but your client has no data right now, so or it is not trying to send any data. Once I run the program like this, if I run it, sorry, something happened here, let me run it again. So you can see that client is trying to reach the server. Once I run it, yeah, client has successfully reached the server and client says, "Hi server, are you okay?" It's simply asking a question to the server. Yeah, server has read it and it has written something like this. You can see that it has flushed it, and once it has flushed it, it is simply using this line to read it. In similarly, you can also do the other way, but the chronology of the running of a program will remain the same. That is, the server should be running, and client should be client should send the data first. Okay, always server should be running, and then client will try to send the data, and then the communication will happen. Only after the client requests or sends the data, there will be an acknowledgement from server, not before that. Similarly, I'll try to run this server right now. You can see that this particular line, client is trying to reach the server, will be printed here. Once I run the client program, nothing else will be printed other than this particular thing which client is reading, because I have only one console here and I don't have two consoles. If you are having multiple command line or output sessions open in parallel, you can use the, and if you are opening two particular servers and not two boxes parallelly, and if you try to run each Java file in two different boxes, and if there is a connection between them, yes, this will run and this communication will happen. Okay, so right now you can see that once I flush it, so you can see that server says, "Hi client, I'm doing great." And you can see that that data is written by this particular line, which is read from this output flush. And this is the end of this server socket and socket tutorial. So I hope you understand this, and the use cases of this particular thing is like, let's take an example where our code has to run a client at our client place, as well as a master place, as well as a slave place, and we expect our code to be running at one place, but not in two places, and it'll be a redundant job if we run the code at two places. So in this case, we want our code to be running at one place. So what can we do is, every time this code runs at the master place, and it will just check for the slave that, yeah, slave is also working fine and I can do my job. And the other way, slave will check for master whether master is working fine or not. If master is fucking fine, slave will simply sleep, and then master, and it will let the master do its own job. This kind of asynchronous and synchronous communication is possible depending upon your applications. Yeah, this is the advantage of having a socket and socket connection. And yeah, there can be an asynchronous call directly using UDP packet, or you can also send datagram packets to a particular destination. Yeah, we can learn that in the next tutorial. As of now, today's tutorial consists of socket and server socket. I hope you understand this, and please like and comment in the comment section if you have any problems to solve. Thank you.